If you pick up Harlan Mays' novel Alkali, you are stepping directly into the Trans-Pecos region of Texas between 1867 and 1874. It is an environment where the blinding white salt flats and extreme heat dictate every action a person takes. Mays entirely discards expected frontier heroism. Instead of fast-paced shootouts, he delivers a slow, agonizing study of how a person's morals erode when survival is on the line. Forget the cinematic cowboys riding off into the sunset. The work shown here is exhausting. Men choke on caliche dust, push frantic longhorns across quicksand rivers, and drink water that tastes like rust and minerals. This brings up a serious question before you commit 15 or more hours to reading it. Is a story drenched in legal theft, unhealed trauma, and profound isolation actually worth your time? Look at this quadrant chart plotting popular Western media. On the vertical axis, we have thematic weight, and on the horizontal, plot velocity. Alkali squarely here in the top left. It moves incredibly slowly, but it carries immense thematic gravity. Living in that top left corner means the book requires exceptional patience. You have to endure long stretches of silence and grueling labor alongside the characters. Choosing to read Alkali means accepting a clear trade-off. You sacrifice the comfort of a clear-cut good versus evil narrative. In return, you get a historically rigorous, unsparing look at human complicity. The frontier depicted by Mays isolates everyone who enters it. Settlements are sparse, and abandoned ruins stand as constant reminders of how easily the landscape erases human effort. Into this environment rides Calvin Pruett. He survived the Civil War Battle of Chickamauga, but the trauma of watching his company wiped out in 3 seconds dictates his entire worldview. This matrix tracks the narrative: Calvin's trauma, his response, and the reader impact. His emotional detachment makes him survived by obsessively cataloging tactical data. For the reader, the impact is friction. You're trapped inside a passive protagonist who watches but refuses to intervene. His exact opposite is Esteban Garza, a Mexican-American drover whose family worked this land for generations. Esteban serves as the novel's unwavering moral center because he actively faces reality. Esteban sees the world exactly as it is, and his quiet, deliberate actions constantly expose Calvin's refusal to make ethical choices. Giving the moral high ground to Esteban, Mays blocks any path to a comforting redemption story. Instead, you are forced to witness Calvin's irreversible moral decay from the front row. The core conflict in this desert is simple. Whoever controls the water controls whether people live or die. The antagonist, John Beaumont Hare, doesn't use guns to take that water. He uses a pen. He systematically files legal claims on springs that established Mexican-American families have relied on for decades. Mays bases this on historical facts. The West was conquered through orderly bureaucratic systems and courthouses, displacing marginalized people under the cover of the law. Looking back at our matrix table, we add John Beaumont Hare's bureaucratic theft as the next narrative element. Because the villain operates entirely within the law, the reader impact is severe. You are denied the traditional, satisfying final duel at high noon. This brings us to the novel's turning point. When faced with this systemic theft, Calvin chooses the safety of the winning side. He becomes an enforcer for Hare. Calvin moves from passive observer to active participant. He threatens the Montoya family and plays a direct role in the murder of Rodrigo Ruiz. Once Calvin crosses that line, any empathy you had for him is gone. The book pivots from a gray survival story into an agonizing, detailed tragedy about how systemic theft actually works. Calvin's embrace of violence destroys his remaining relationships. He alienates his protege, Ike Pruett, and his actions force Esteban to move his wife and daughter across the border into Mexico just to keep them safe. This mirrors the larger historical displacement operating in the background of the text. Indigenous tribes and Mexican landowners were continuously pushed off their land by incoming legal and military structures. In the end, Calvin faces the ultimate consequence of his choices. He is left entirely alone. He refuses one final order from Hare and rides off into the unmapped desert with nothing. He secured his physical survival, but it cost him his soul. The conclusion is haunting, unresolved, and fiercely pessimistic. This decision tree will help you determine if Alkali is right for you, starting with one question. Do you require characters to be redeemable? If your answer is yes, or if you read Westerns for historical escapism and fast-paced action, follow the avoid branch. This book will only leave you deeply frustrated. But if you appreciate the grim tone of Cormac McCarthy, value rigorous historical realism, and have the emotional endurance to watch a man slowly fail, follow the invest branch. The novel offers a sharp historical lens, detailing exactly how the legal displacement of Mexican-American families in Texas operated on the ground. For the right reader, the massive input of patience this book demands pays off. It yields one of the most uncompromising, definitive character studies in modern Western literature.